Hello, this is Impact. I'm Lewis Vaughan-Jones. Brazil's new president joins thousands of mourners paying their respects to football legend Pele at the Santos Stadium. His coffin will be taken on a procession through the city in the next few minutes. And we'll follow that procession live on the programme, bring you reaction from Brazil and the rest of the world. Also coming up, American football star Damar Hamlin is in a critical condition after suffering a cardiac arrest during a primetime NFL game. And the future of thousands of Thai elephants hangs in the balance as the world turns away from performing animals. That's all coming up on Impact. Hello and welcome to the programme. We're going to start in Brazil and in the city of Santos, where the coffin of the footballing legend Pele will shortly be taken through the streets in a final public procession ahead of a private burial later. Let's show you the pictures live right now in Santos. This is the middle of the football stadium where Pele's body has been lying in state effectively, with tens of thousands of people pouring past over the last 24 hours or so to see Pele there. And this is the final few moments of this stage of the commemorations, because the next appointment is a procession through the city itself. So from the football stadium through the city, which will take a good couple of hours, one assumes, and then the final stage then will be a private moment, a private burial for the family. But at the moment, things very much in their public phase, and just in the last couple of hours or so, the newly elected president.
Young players that want to make history.
Indeed. Anita Ephraim, thank you very much for coming on the programme. And if you are watching at home, just to let you know that, of course, we will be revisiting these pictures over the next couple of hours. There's a little bit of a pause, as you can see right now, and so we're going to turn our attention elsewhere and look at the rest of the day's news, but we will be coming back and keeping an eye on events there in Santos in Brazil over the next couple of hours. Okay, a couple of significant developments to bring you from Ukraine now. First, the head of the Russian mercenary group, Wagner, said Russia is facing great difficulty in its attempts to capture the eastern Ukrainian town of Bakhmut. Yevgeny Prigozhin said multiple lines of Ukrainian defences were complicating the assault, with fighting not just street to street but house by house. The comments came as Ukraine's president says Russia is planning a protracted campaign of drone attacks in a bid to demoralise Ukraine. Thanks to Jared for that update there, and of course we'll be waiting for any more updates there out of the States on that story. In the meantime, get in touch with me on social media anytime. I'm at L Vaughan Jones. I'm Lewis Vaughan Jones, and this is BBC News. Hello, this is Impact. I'm Lewis Vaughan-Jones. Brazil's new president joins thousands of mourners paying their respects to football legend Pele at the Santos Stadium. Within the last few minutes, his coffin has left the stadium in a final procession through the streets of the city ahead of a family funeral. Controversy in Israel as the new far-right national security minister visits Jerusalem's most bitterly contested holy site. And why an energy crisis in Pakistan means the opening hours will be restricted for shopping malls and wedding halls. That's all coming up on Impact. Hello, welcome to the programme. We're going to start in Brazil, where in the last few minutes or so, a procession carrying the coffin of the football legend Pele has started its final journey through the streets of Santos. We can take a look at the live images from the city there. Extraordinary images as thousands of people there line the streets, and you can see the top there of that white vehicle. On top of that lies the coffin of Pele, draped in the Brazilian flag, making its final journey. It has been lying in state effectively in the centre of the football stadium where he played, and tens of thousands of people filed past that over the last few hours or so, including dignitaries. The head of FIFA was there, and also the newly elected head of the country. Right, stay with us on Impact. Still to come. In the UK, small puppies, big dreams. We meet the first batch of canine recruits training to be guide dogs for the blind since the COVID pandemic. Welcome back. This is Impact on BBC News. I'm Vaughan. Next, the Pakistani government has announced a series of measures to save electricity as the country grapples with an energy crisis. All malls and markets have been ordered to shut by 8:30 p.m. and marriage halls by 10 p.m. We can speak now to our South Asia regional editor, Ambrasan Etarajan. Ambrasan, hi there. So what are these measures that are being brought in to try and save energy? Right, just before I go, I want to leave you with pictures from Brazil, a huge event taking place there, of course. This is from just within the last hour or so. This is the city of Santos, and that white vehicle that you can see moving slowly through the streets there. Well, on top of that lies the coffin of Pele, draped in the Brazilian flag, and you can see there the people coming out on the streets to say their final farewell to the footballing legend. And just on the right hand side there you can see the edge of the football stadium where he played as a player and where he's been effectively lying in state. Over the last 24 hours, tens of thousands of people thought to have poured through and taken a quiet moment to reflect and say their personal goodbye to Pele, the man who did so much to put this city, that football club, Santos FC, on the map. And of course he became so much more than a football player. Not only did he reach the top of his game, he won 3 World Cups, still the only player to do that, but he left his mark right around the world. That's it. I'm Vaughan. This is BBC News. Hello, this is Impact. I'm Vaughan. Draped in the Brazilian flag, Pele's coffin has been taken on a procession through the packed streets of Santos before a private funeral ceremony later. Earlier, Brazil's new president joined thousands of mourners paying their respects to Pele at the stadium of his former club. American football star Damar Hamlin is in a critical condition after suffering a cardiac arrest during a primetime NFL game. And the future of thousands of Thai elephants hangs in the balance as the world turns away from performing animals. That's all coming up on Impact. Hello and welcome to the programme. We're going to start in Brazil, specifically the Brazilian city of Santos, where the coffin of the football legend Pele has been brought out from the football stadium, where it has been lying in state and now being taken through the streets in a final public procession ahead of a private family burial later. Officers from Brazil's Presidential Guard carried the casket from the stadium where Pele began playing his footballing career and the coffin was on public view in the middle of the pitch for 24 hours or so, but you can see there it's being moved, and now it is being taken on top of a vehicle through the city streets. This moment of the coffin being moved was about an hour or so ago now. And since then, it has been taken out to the streets, as has so many people you can see there. So these are the live pictures. It's just gone 11 a.m. there in Santos, a city that many of us wouldn't have heard of if it hadn't been for Pele. He made the football club and the place itself famous around the world, and now people there are saying their final goodbyes and their thank yous to him. A remarkable playing career for club and of course for country. He won 3 World Cups, still the only player to do that. Had a remarkable goal scoring record for club and for country. Dr. Eric Feigelding, thank you very much for coming on the programme. Thank you.
That's it.
Right, stay with us. On Impact, still to come, we'll have the latest on the American football star Damar Hamlin, who is in a critical condition after suffering a cardiac arrest during a prime-time NFL game. Welcome back. This is Impact on BBC World News. American football star Damar Hamlin is in a critical condition after suffering a cardiac arrest during a primetime NFL game. Buffalo Bills player fell to the ground after colliding with an opponent during the first quarter of the match against the Cincinnati Bengals. He received on-field medical attention for more than half an hour and was then taken to a local hospital. Well, here's CBS News correspondent Jared Hill in New York. Jonathan Head reporting there. I just want to take you back to Santos in Brazil. We have these live pictures from the streets. The final minutes really of Pele's funeral, a procession through the streets so people can say their final goodbyes. You can see the couple of black trucks there in the foreground in the front of those pictures, and at the back there's a larger white vehicle, and on top of that lies Pele's coffin draped in the Brazilian flag, making its final journey through the streets. After this section, once people have said their public goodbyes, then there is time for a private family funeral that will take place away from the eyes of the media and away from the eyes of people on the streets here. So these are the last moments for a country to say goodbye to a footballing legend. That's it. I'm Lewis Vaughan-Jones. This is BBC News. Hello, this is Impact. I'm Lewis Vaughan-Jones. Draped in the Brazilian flag, Pele's coffin is taken on a procession through the packed streets of Santos before a private funeral ceremony later. Earlier, Brazil's new president joined tens of thousands of mourners paying their respects to Pele at the stadium of his former club. And these are the pictures live from Santos as the funeral procession continues. In this edition of Impact, we'll bring you the latest live from Brazil. Also coming up, 10 months into their war against Ukraine, Russian forces admit they're having trouble taking the strategically important town of Bakhmut. Controversy in Israel as the new far-right national security minister visits Jerusalem's most bitterly contested holy site. And as China's COVID surge continues, officials in Shanghai say the number of cases is up to 30 times greater than the previous wave. That's all coming up on Impact. Hello and welcome to the programme. We're going to start in the Brazilian city of Santos, where the coffin of the footballing legend Pele has been brought out from the football stadium where he had been lying in state and taken through the streets in a final public procession. Officers from Brazil's presidential guard carried the casket from the stadium where Pele began his playing career. Coffin was on public view in the middle of the pitch for 24 hours, and the club says 230,000 people paid their final respects to Pele as he lay in state. Thanks to Dr. Feigelding for that. Right, stay with us. On Impact, still to come. Small puppies, big dreams. We meet the first batch of canine recruits training to be guide dogs for the blind since the COVID pandemic in the UK. This is Impact on BBC World News. Next, Palestinian leaders and several of Israel's international allies have condemned a visit by a new far-right Israeli minister to the compound in Jerusalem that houses the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Itamar Ben-Gvir was seen touring the area with heavy security around him, actually. Now, it's a site sacred to both Muslims and Jews, but is currently only open to Muslim worship. Mr. Ben-Gvir has long called for Jews to be allowed to pray there as well. Our Middle East correspondent, Tom Bateman, is in Jerusalem. Right, that's it from me. I'm Lewis Vaughan Jones. This is BBC News. Bye-bye.
Hello, we've had record-breaking warmth to start 2023 across Europe.